Okay, let me try even with the echo. First, let me most sincerely thank the organizers of this event for the honor of inviting me, and then thank them for what they're doing. I must most sincerely recognize and thank the Vice President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Osibajo GCON, for showing leadership by accepting and participating in this conference. That's what I think leadership should be. Leading by example and showing the way forward. I thank the Vice Chancellor of the University, the Chief Host, and all of you, the organizers. For me, my contribution this morning will be more on the interactive section, as basically make a general contribution and then be able to participate more during the interactive section if the opportunity is there, because I tend to learn a lot from this. Education, as we always maintained, today is the most important contributor to development. The prosperity and growth of any nation is no longer measured by your geological or geographical location, but on education. Nations that have more access to knowledge and technology are more successful than the ones without. Most critical determinant of development today and society is the Human Development Index, which is hinged on education. And this is very easy and available. It's measured into 4 steps, which is high, very high, high, medium, and low. And in some cases, very low. So it depends on where you are standing on this. And all this is driven by education. So it's no longer us thinking about what can we do without education. There's various countries that you see today. I listen to what the last contributor mentioned about what is happening in China with regards to STEM education. All you see in the Asian tiger nations today that are doing better than we're doing is because they've invested in education. Even our neighbor Ghana that was mentioned is because they've invested more in education. It will surprise you that countries like Ghana are spending the same amount of money we are spending annually on education with a population that is about 1/7 of ours. Because they've realized what education is all about. So if you're talking about today, like you mentioned in the topic you've given me about issue of education, industry, and universities and everything. First is that, for me, is that you can't talk about industrialization without investing in education. And you can only invest in education by investing in your university. So it's a critical connection between these three that if government really wants to pursue development holistically, there's no better investment to do than to invest in education. What you're seeing today in Nigeria has said it, the cumulative effects of our underdevelopment and the crises we're facing is because we have not invested in this most critical element of development, and that is education. Especially in STEM education. We are, as a nation, we have seen education as an investment, as an expense. Education is an investment because it's a critical tool for your growth and maintenance of social stability. The more your people are educated, the more they're able to create wealth, the better, the stronger your economy, the more they can be and everything. Countries today that have done well are people who have invested in it. You're no longer going to, for example, we are dependent on oil. Today, no country that is dependent on oil, like where we are dependent, is doing well. If you look at Venezuela, they have 10 times the amount of oil that we have. Is a collapse case. Then you look at the economies that have less oil, like Vietnam, even Bangladesh that's coming up now, and everything, you will see how well they are doing without oil and everything. To further show you the impact of education and what especially STEM education, technology can be able to do today. By last month, the 4 companies in America are valued over 2.1 trillion. Apple, for example, is valued to about $2.2 trillion in market valuation. That is bigger than the entire GDP of Africa at 2.1 trillion. And of course, about 5 times Nigerian GDP at $400 billion. If you look at Facebook as a revenue last year generated nearly $70 billion. Nigeria as a country earned $18 billion from oil. The tax paid by Apple as a company is bigger than the money we generated from other technological companies. It's bigger than the money we paid for, we earned from oil. So you can go on and see what nations are doing. Even if you go to America, where we always want to see as an example of where we should be, the states with bigger GDP, better economy, California, that is #1, with about 1.6 trillion GDP, 4 times Nigeria, is not driven by oil. It is by agriculture and technology. And that agriculture is improved because of the technology application, which is knowledge. So we need to invest in education. It is a critical thing that we need to invest in. Like I said, today is an interactive section, which I want to learn more and contribute in. My own contribution is that for us to be moved from where we are today to become an industrialized nation, the key to that is investment in education. And I say countries that have shown example of where we need to be about. The latest I mentioned before is Vietnam. Vietnam have moved from a per capita of less than 1,000 in the last 10 years to over 2,000. When ours have declined from over 2,000 to below. So education is critical and investment is what is required. I thank the organizers. Like I said, I want to participate in the interactive section to be able to take the question, but I must thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. I believe that what you people are doing is in the right direction, and that is the future that we all need to invest and pursue aggressively. Thank you for the opportunity.
Many thanks again, His Excellency, first for finding time to join and for accepting to speak a bit earlier than scheduled. We needed to overcome some technical challenges. Thanks immensely. Next, the interactive session which we invited, and then I'll invite Reverend Father Dr. to read out the questions that we received, and then you'll take time to address those questions. Thank you very much, His Excellency.
Your Excellency, former Governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi. The first question is this. As Governor of Anambra State, you brought computers to the schools, to the secondary schools in the state. So what inspired you to take that step? The second question, if you don't mind, compared to other countries, would you say Nigeria is on the right track in its efforts to make the educational system serve the technological needs of its people?
I'm not hearing you again. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, the third one. You asked the questions again. I've given you 2 questions. Did you get the first 2?
He said,
The first
issue
question.
of computer when I was in government.
Yes, as Governor of Anambra State, you took computers to the secondary schools. So what inspired you to do so, to take that step? Then the second question, sir, compared to other countries, would you say Nigeria is on the right track in its efforts to make its educational system serve the technological needs of its people? Then the third question. Do you find a nexus between Nigeria's failure?
I'm not hearing the third one.
Do you find a connection?
I'm not hearing you again.
Hey, what's going on again? Hello? Hello? Yeah? Are you hearing, sir? You still can't hear? Oh my God. Hello?
Maybe I'm hearing you now.
Okay. So, do you see a nexus, a connection between Nigeria's failure in industrialization and the neglect of the education system in its priorities?
I'm not hearing you again.
Yeah, I said, do you see a connection, a nexus between Nigeria's failure at industrialization and the neglect of the education system in Nigeria's priorities? Then finally, sir, were you required to set the agenda for the ministries of education and that of science and technology in the search for a synergy between the two ministries, what would be your prescription?
Can you do me a favor?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Can you repeat your third and fourth question?
Okay. The third question says, you see a connection between Nigeria's failure in the area of industrialization and its neglect of the education sector, the development of the education sector.
Okay.
Yeah. And then finally, were you required to set the agenda for the ministries of education and that of science and technology in the search for a synergy between the two? What would be your prescription?
Okay.
All right, sir.
Well, can you hear me very well?
Yes, sir.
Well, let me start with the first question, which is the issue of why did I provide computers for students in secondary school while I serve as governor. It is basically because of my belief that without education, Nigeria will not be able to achieve its developmental goal. So I decided that for us to do it, we must invest in education. Are you still hearing me? Because I've lost you.
I'm hearing.
Are you still hearing me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Okay.
I'm hearing.
So for me, education was #1 priority as a government because it is the #1 item that drives all other processes. You see, unfortunately, in Nigeria, people think that if you build structures, construct roads, do all sorts of things, that is development. No. The most critical element of development is the development of the human infrastructure, and that is education. Unless you invest in human infrastructure, whatever you're doing in physical infrastructure is a waste. Because it's a human infrastructure that will drive the other ones and make it work. So for me, that investment in education, it wasn't just in computer. For me, education was #1 priority as a governor, and I pursued it aggressively. And that includes providing the modern tools to be able to be properly educated, which is computer and everything. So when we set out to buy 30,000 computers, which is the highest any government in Sub-Saharan Africa can be able to buy, we were not seeing it as expenditure, but an investment in what will drive all other aspects of development tomorrow. So that was the key. And I maintain we need to invest in education or we are wasting our time. #2 is what you said as to see Nigeria as on the right track. Again, concerning education, my position is capital no. We're not in the right track because you're not doing the right investment. You're not doing the right investment. I can show you, Nigeria is grouped today within what you can call the mint nations. And the mint nations, I mean Mexico, Indonesia, Nigeria, Turkey. You have what they call the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And I can include other countries like Thailand, Philippines, Bangladesh, so many of them. All of them, without exception, including Ghana, is spending at least 4 to 5% of their GDP annually on education. When Nigeria is not even spending even effectively 1%. So there's no way you can compete. There's no way you're doing the right thing. And I give you specifics. South Africa, between the past, from 2000 and in the past 10 years, Nigeria has spent in education approximately $10 and $12 billion. In fact, let me do the total of what we have spent last year, which is in the past 5 years, we spent approximately 2.something trillion in education. In 2016, it was $443 billion naira. 2016 was about 455 billion. 2017 was 600 and something billion, and similar things. So you're looking at a total of about 2.5 trillion, which today, this is 5 years expenditure of Nigeria, which is today below maybe about $5.5 billion. South Africa last year spent nearly $20 billion in education. So a country of less than 55 million in 1 year spent 20 billion, and a country of 200 million in 5 years spent only a quarter of that. That shows you're not on. And I can go on and show you what is happening. Indonesia, in their last budget, Indonesia is a population of 250 million people. Their last education budget is $45 billion. If you follow that, we are 200, our budget annually should not be less than about 30 billion. They spend 45 for 250 million people. So these are things you can compare. You can go to every other area. Other countries are spending more in education. Thailand is spending about 20 billion with a population of about 70 million people. So you can see that we're not doing enough. We have today 15 million children out of school. That is a population of over 60% of the world countries. If you put the 196 countries all over the world, half of them don't have a population of 15 million. That is the number of people who have out of school, the highest in the world. So we're not doing a lot in education. Comparing that with the issue of industries, You know, if I go to your next question, you could see that the failure of your industrialization is strictly tied to your level of investment in education. You need entrepreneurs that are educated. These are the bulk of people who form your SMEs. If you go to Indonesia and China, 90% of the businesses are SMEs. And these are people who are educated. If you look at what I was telling you about technology and everything, even Zoom that we're using now, these are innovations that came out of SMEs, small businesses, which were born out of education. That is what you're lacking. So if we are talking today that we're going to have vehicles without drivers, we're going to have buses without drivers, all sorts of innovation. We're just talking about education. You know, so you cannot automate your industries. Your agriculture can no longer be technologically driven because you have not invested in education. So your industrialization is strongly tied to your education. It's as simple as ABC. There's nothing. And number 4 is what you talked about, issue of agenda between Ministry of Science and Education. Well, I think that considering what the future is all about today, our focus should be strictly on science education. We lost it several years ago because when Bombay Institute of Technology and all the schools of technology in India were being set up, was about the same time College of Education, Yaba, IMT, Enugu, all these things were being set up. But rather than focus on technology, because of lack of investment, we didn't see the opportunity. Today, economies like India are being driven by innovation in technology and ICT. So if you're going to talk about agenda between these two, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Science, the only thing I can say is that there should be a stronger collaboration between the two of them with emphasis even on science education, because that is the future. I hope you did listen to what I said.
Yeah, I heard you, sir. Thank you so much. That was very exhaustive. Thank you.
And His Excellency.
Yeah.
Well, I know you are enjoying the interactive session. We have, if you don't mind, sir, another level of interaction. This time from questions from students of the university. May I invite the Vice President of the Students' Union Government to ask a question on behalf of the students. Ms. Aro Florence, please. A question for His Excellency.
Thank you. Studying on the existing protocol, my name is Aro Akachuku Florence, the Student Union Government Vice President of University of Nigeria and Super. We understand that during your tenure as the governor of Anambra State, you transformed the state, you transformed education in the state. Now, can you tell us your secret and how you can support our ongoing technological training in the University of Nigeria and Super? Thank you.
Well, thank you, my Vice President. I was actually going to, one of the protests I'm going to lead to Suka soon is that the presidents should be women and vice presidents should not be men. So we change the role because it's been a long time since I was in university, 40 years ago, and we are doing male president, female vice. I think it's now time to reverse it. Let the women be the president and let the men be the vice for some time, so it should be reversed. Anyway, there's no secret to that, my daughter and my sister. There's no single secret. It is for you to understand that investment in education is the most critical investment a nation can do. Today, up till even now that I'm not in office, I spend my time on two things, education and health. So I go to schools, visit schools, because if people are educated, they will be able to realize their potentials. I was not somebody like me using myself as an example. Today, because I went to Suka, graduated there, I was able to go from there to live in the UK for 10 years. Today, I can say I'm an alumni of Oxford University, Cambridge University. Because of my education, I was able to do business in that Western world and made money because I was educated. So it's important that we do invest. Now that everything is going towards technology, it becomes more critical. I'm fascinated by what people are doing at this, what is happening in soccer. I look forward to being part of it.
All right. Yes.
Thank you.
So, do you meet the students? Thank you, His Excellency. I think that's it for the interactive session.
No.
Okay, sir, sorry, just before you go, there's a question from students from the secondary school. Sir, can you please take the question?
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Thank you, sir. Standing on existing protocol, I, Chidinma Mercy Wuchuku, would like to appreciate you, sir, for your inspiring speech. So my question, is there anything you would like us to do as students so that you can help us attain our quest for technological excellence? Now we need to be trained. We would like to excel. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you very much for your question. The only thing I can tell you is that focus on your education. Your education is your only capital and asset for tomorrow. Be committed to it. Follow it through. You might seem as if it will lead to nowhere, but the world is changing. It's becoming a competitive and one village. If you are properly educated, especially in science education, as you can see, by the year 2030, there will be vacancies, huge gap for people looking for jobs in areas of technology, in areas of health and sciences, and all this is critical. Look at what is happening now with coronavirus. Everywhere in the world, doctors and those who work in the health sector are being looked for. Where countries are ready to give you visa, give you all sorts of things now. So you could see what is happening and where the world is changing. It's become a global market. So you must focus on it. That's why I said personally, apart from being part of this conference, that I'm looking forward to even ways in my own little way I can support what is happening with the sector where you are in the university, because it's important for everybody to support that.